Woozy here with NeoWorlder, and today we're going to go over how adjusting arguments and skills can affect the responses that your persona has when communicating with leads or customers in campaigns. So to kind of get you orientated here, if you haven't set up a campaign or you haven't seen the campaign creation, I'd highly recommend seeing the Communication Hub creating your first campaign video. That kind of presets this video. It'll show you kind of the setup that we're using with our persona Murphy in order to get the actual campaign running, and the adaptive sales skill that we're using in the campaign to allow Murphy to communicate to his personas. So again, that's video kind of shows the setup here. But in this one, we're going to kind of dive right into, we've launched that campaign. We've got messages going out to customers, and we want to see basically when the customers reply, how the persona is handling and responding to those customers. And what we'll show is that when we jump back into the Life Lab and go into that actual skill that we're using in the campaign, how adjusting the arguments in there can drive what the persona is saying to the leads in terms of responses and what the persona is trying to get that lead to do in terms of driving down the funnel or answering customer support or kind of whatever your end goal is there. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started here. So I am on my commercial account, Woozy's World, where I do a lot of demoing out of here. But you can see we've got the Murphy Daniels persona here. And like I said, if you haven't seen the Communication Hub starting your first campaign video, I highly recommend checking that one out, just so you can see how we set up Murphy with the campaign and got it running here. Okay, and as a reminder, I'm going to hop back into the Life Lab here, and let's go into the skills section. And let's look at that actual skill that we're using here with the campaign today. So as you saw in the previous video, we're using this adaptive sales engagement skill to answer the lead responses in our campaign. And let's just poke in there real fast here. The only adjustable settings on this one are in this sales engagement node here. And I'm just going to quickly show the only thing we have turned on here is the enable activator, which will allow the responses to come out from the persona. And you can see all of our other fields here have basically been left blank. So we're going to start like this and show some test responses. And then we're going to actually come back in here and fill in some of these fields and redo those test responses just so you can kind of get a good, clear picture of what's going on with the skill and how these arguments are driving responses here. All right, so I am back in my test email account here, and you can see that this is the campaign we started the other day, and Murphy did send me with the demo email I'm using here, the first message here. So we did get this, and now what we're going to go ahead and do is respond here. We'll show kind of what Murphy's responses looks like without any arguments in there, and then we'll basically do the same setup after we go through tweaking some of the arguments here. So let me go ahead and type out a reply real fast. Okay, so I'm going to send just a real simple, can you tell me about yourself and some of the things you can do? And we'll pause just a second for a response here. All right, so we got a response back from Murphy, and let's take a look here. So I'm Murphy, a demo specialist at NeoWorlder. He's pulling that just from the sign off I gave him there. And then from here, he's kind of just guessing what he's doing here because we haven't really given him any instructions in the back here. So he's kind of just trying his best to fit from the context what he can do here. But as you can tell, he's a little confused and not really giving a very clear answer on what he can do. He's kind of just rambling on, making things up here. So we don't have any constraints or quality assurance or really any instructions in here. So this is kind of as expected here before we go and open up these arguments. So you can see just very kind of strange random answers here. So now let's go into the arguments and update some, and we'll see if we can start guiding these responses here towards a more useful, practical thing that we might want to do for a business or whatever scenario we're wanting here. So let's navigate to the Life Lab, and I am inside the skill section, and let's go ahead and pull up Murphy. Oops. Okay, and it's this adaptive sales engagement one we're looking at again. So we're going to go in there, and let's go ahead and open up this first node here. I'm going to pause filling the fields, and then we'll kind of go through and talk about them real fast. All right, and I will be skipping some fields, but I'm going to try to hit the main basic ones here to start. We'll have some additional videos later on where we get kind of into some specifics on some of these fields to really show kind of what they're capable of. But for now, let's focus on the basics here. So I am going to kind of, like I said, I'm going to skip a few fields here. Some of these fields are just used for testing. Some of them are optional, but I want to kind of highlight some important ones here. So this sales manager email, I've put my email in here for now. This is going to be the email that when handovers happen, who they're sending the handover to. So I want them coming to me, so I've got mine there, my email in there for now. Another one here, just wanted to show is we do have this hot lead notification turned on. Basically, when leads start engaging in our campaign, even before they become a handover, this should give us a notification basically that's just somebody's talking into our campaign. As always, when we're making updates here, we want to make sure they're saving them. And then let's go ahead and go into this next node here. All right, and then here we're going to get a lot more description for what the persona should be doing, background for what company they're working for in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. We'll fill this in, then we'll kind of go through them again real fast. Okay, so we've got these all filled in here now. Basically, for this demo, we're going to pretend that Murphy is selling dog toys. So we've got Murphy's Dog Toys as our company name. We've got some just fake contact info and some fake company background info. Obviously, if this was a real business, you could put, a whole bunch of, how you were founded, your mission statement, into the company background. Same with contact info, website, phone number. You could even put hours of operation in here or the company background, just to give it more info about you. And then agent job description. This is basically, you think of this almost as the job role and description of the persona here. So I am basically telling Murphy that in this campaign, his job is to engage with leads, talk about what toys or treats their dog might be interested in, give his personal suggestions for what their pet might like, and to make sure that he includes his personal reviews for those toys and treats. So products for sale. A variety of dog toys and treats. Here you can be vague like this. You could also be specific. If you were a business that had, 10 products, you could actually list them out with their descriptions and their price points here. If you wanted to give it, that specific of information, or it can be, kind of more vague and generic here. Sales agent details, you can add additional information about additional sales reps that it can reference if needed there. Sector, again, I'm just kind of going with something generic here for demo, but you can imagine if this was something like real estate or automotive or, just about anything else you're wanting to do, basically just what sector in there. It could even be something generic like sales. All right. And then supervisor instructions. This is another pretty big field. So it kind of works hand in hand a little bit with this agent job description. Think of this as the job description. And then this is kind of like okay, you're on there first day working. What is your boss basically telling you need to make sure you're doing here? So, I'm basically just saying, make sure you're staying aware of customer service. We're trying to engage these leads in a fun way. And want to, show real interest in, who they are, what their pet is, what they might want. I also am reminding Murphy that, he is a German Shepherd and to, stay in that character, don't break or try to pretend like he's the boss or anything. So we've got that in there. And then just a reminder to, try to actually get in there and engage with the customer here. We got time zone just so we can send during the right times. And then these bottom one here is handover guidelines. So this is basically going to be when Murphy's having a conversation with the lead, at what point should he basically tap me on the shoulder and bring me into the conversation to either take over or give more advice or just see where the conversation is going here. So, and again, you can this is dependent on what your goal is in the conversation. Maybe it's to, schedule an appointment. Maybe it's to get somebody to sign up for a webinar. Maybe it's to actually sell a product. Maybe it's just to simply touch base and answer questions as a customer support. So really can kind of be the system's designed to be pretty open and as far as what you can kind of do with it there. So let's go ahead and save those. And then again, we're doing all of this to basically set this up, and then we're going to go back in and ask Murphy some more questions here. So before we do that, let's go ahead and go into the next field here. And you can see the next two are going to be kind of more about constraints and quality assurance here. So again, same deal. Let me pause and type in some info, and then we'll kind of review. Okay, so we've got some specific constraints in here now. Again, these are kind of things that we're wanting him to stay away or not do. So I just kind of said, stay on topic of the dog treats and toys. If asked about another conversation, you can acknowledge, but revert back to the Murphy's dog toys. And then for personality, basically just said, you're Murphy the German Shepherd. You love talking to pet owners. You're fun, energetic, and a little goofy there. So that is kind of comprehensive output. And let's go through one more node here. This one's just going to be quality control rules. Again, let me type out real fast and we'll review this. Okay, and then quality control here, you can kind of help with some of the formatting tone here, as well as kind of reinforce some of the things from the constraints here. I'm kind of, just for some examples, telling it to be short to the point, elementary vocabulary, avoid long sentences, stick to friendly conversation, and don't overuse bullet points, just to kind of show here that you can kind of tweak formatting a little bit on the responses as well as just straight up things that it should be saying as well here. So with that saved, our last node here has to do with follow-ups that we'll touch on in another video. But for now, we've got all of our fields updated here with Murphy's dog toys. So let's now... I'm going to add a new lead into that same campaign, and we'll go back and try testing out some responses again here. All right, here, so starting a new thread, and we're going to, again, respond to Murphy here in my email, and let's just start with something real generic here so we can start to see the impact of the arguments we just put in the skill to how it'll affect the responses that the persona is responding with here to the actual leads in the campaign. Also, just want to point this out that these do go into effect live. So let's say we were running a campaign with 100 people. We realized that we wanted to, try to push something a little harder, or maybe we wanted a handover sooner, or just wanted some extra information in there. We can enter that in while the campaign's running, save it, and then it will immediately take effect as leads and customers continue to respond here. So we'll pause just until it responds back. All right, we've gotten our response back from Murphy, and this is looking a lot better here. So, introducing or saying, hey, Woozy to me, and then it is taking in some of that personality that we tried to kind of emphasize, letting him know that it's Murphy the German Shepherd. He's leaning into being a little bit more, fun and energetic here. He is still mentioning that, hey, I'm here to help you sniff out the best toys and treats for your furry pal. And he is immediately trying to engage me more, tell me more about your pup. What are they like? What kind of toys or, treats do they like? Age, breed, and he's basically trying to continue this on here. So you can see that basically with those arguments we added, it's now kind of gotten a way different personality. It's trying to drive the conversation in quite a different direction. And you can see that obviously compared to the first response we looked, way better for what we're trying to do here in the demo. So obviously you can imagine now if, anywhere from, hey, maybe you're a restaurant with a brand and you want your brand to be talking back to you, or, brand for pretty much any other business. You can kind of set these up with the arguments so that your brand's really talking back and coming through when it's talking to your leads and customers here. So, all right, and then I want to show one more thing here. So I'm going to basically try to respond a couple times to this, and then I'll show you my thread. But I want to trigger that handover that we showed in the arguments. So let me pause, and I'll type a few back and forth, and then we'll finish out the video here. Okay, so I've given a couple of responses back and forth now, so let's kind of follow along the convo here. So I had my initial, and then you saw the initial response here. I basically responded, I have a German Shepherd too. He's 6. He likes everything. Persona responded back to me, still kind of looking at my response, engaging with me, and then does go ahead and suggest 4 toys here based off kind of the information I'd provided it. and kind of still continues to engage me as well here, asking me a few questions. I went ahead and pick a ball, and it then basically says, perfect. I can have somebody reach out to you. What's your best number, time, or email to reach out to you, and we can kind of get you taken care of here. So, at the same time that it sent me the lead, me acting as the business owner, or like in this case, if I was running the Murphy persona here as the owner of Murphy's dog toys, then I would get this email here. So it's basically telling me that I've got a handover in this campaign, and that here are the details of this campaign. So it's telling me that customer bonded, suggested 4 toys, customer selected 1, and just giving me basically a rundown of why it thinks that this is a good lead here. So hopefully that's a good kind of demo here of going through everything from campaign setup like we showed in the first video, into actually adjusting the arguments to how it's going to be useful for what your use case or business use case is, and then how your persona can kind of manage those responses, follow up with leads, give them real business information when needed, as well as then when they get a customer that's actually ready for you to take over, then be able to smoothly hand it off to you based off the handover guidelines you give it here. So this hopefully is a deep dive into arguments and how campaigns can be adjusted, and stay tuned for more videos.